Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go 3 abreast.
It is show time at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You've got a for a breath. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello again. It is Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. Talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the week, and we are so glad that you have joined us. Erin Evernham and Steve Post here. And Erin, first off, I'm going to ask you this because once we get started, it's out of control. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fantastic, okay? So how this show comes together is crazy, okay? Last week, and we mentioned this on the show, Jason Persley goes and wins his first wing sprint car race at Houston's. So we got to get Daison, except for he's on a plane. So Kreger said, can you do next week? So Daison says, yeah, I'd love to come on. So we have Daison Pursley locked in, okay? We know it's Hall of Fame week, so we got to call Paul McMahon. So we're at the end of last week, and we're like, we're great. We're going to have Paul Mann and Daison Pursley on. And I put in our text message, unless something dramatic happens. Daryn Pittman goes out and wins on Williams Grove in the 69K. Then Logan Wagner in another 69K goes and wins at Port Royal. Then Chase Randall goes 2 in a row at Knoxville. Then Troy Wagaman wins $10,000 at Lincoln. Then Dave Blaney wins the Western Pennsylvania Sprint Car Speed Week Championship. Then Anthony Macri shows up at Houston's, and I'm like, holy cow, what are we going to do? So all of those results are out there, and that is our covering of all of the results, because we are going to go right straight to the Zoom line and be joined by a member of the 2024 class of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. Paul McMahon joins us. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you guys doing?
We are doing well. Paul, the weekend, the ceremony, the memories, just where are you at? How was everything out in Knoxville?
It was very overwhelming, very humbling. Like I was telling you earlier, that I never really paid attention to, I've been through the Hall of Fame and paid attention to what goes on through it, but never really went and took it in until last Friday, and when knowing my face is going to be on one of them pillars for eternity, basically, and to walk in and to see the names on them pillars, the Johnny Andersons, the Jimmy Boyds, Brent Kadings, guys I looked up to, Jimmy Sills, a lot of guys I looked up to, and just go, wow, man, I'm part of this elite group, and something I never thought I'd be a part of, but very honored to be a part of.
Paul, about 6 years ago, I remember exactly where I was sitting when my husband Ray got a phone call that he was going to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. It was a very surreal moment. Where were you when you got the phone call from the Sprint Car Hall of Fame?
I was actually at PRI, on my way to PRI. We just stopped at TSR to drop off some gauges for work, and I got a phone call, and I kind of looked down at my phone and saw it said Knoxville Raceway, or Knoxville, Iowa, and didn't think much about it because Quick Car gives the gauges to the Hall of Fame for the raffle car. So I just figured they needed another set of raffle gifts for the giveaway car. So, we got done at TSR, kind of walking around there. Probably an hour later, I called Bob Baker back. He didn't answer. So then I left a message. We were kind of playing phone tag for a couple times. And when he called me back, I was sitting at the bar down at the JW Marriott there in Indianapolis, and I kind of just got up and walked off, figuring he's just going to ask me, can we get some gauges for the giveaway card? He starts talking. It's just a casual conversation, doesn't mention nothing. And halfway through it, he goes, well, the reason I'm calling, and I was like, and then it just kind of took me back, and all the emotions came through. And I remember I was standing underneath the escalator at the JW Marriott, crying, trying to finish this conversation. And then you couldn't tell nobody. I saw Steve at PRI, and I want to tell everybody, and I can't tell a soul. So it was kind of hard, but I was able to, I called my wife. We got to, I couldn't do FaceTime with my kids, but I got to both call them. They panicked because why are we doing a 3-way call all of a sudden? And then I was able to tell my parents also. So, it was a very overwhelming day. And very special also.
One of the things that I really found very special was your social media last week. You did such a beautiful job documenting so many people. And Paul, just as you look at this and as you think about this, it's got to be overwhelming, just all of the rides and people and mechanics and friends and beers. And I mean, it's just it's got to be overwhelming to try to put your arms around everything you've accomplished.
Yeah, last week I really tried to, put out there, the people that helped me along the way. I wish I had more pictures. It's one thing I wish I had done when I was racing more, was take more photos with people and do other things. So, just everybody that gave me an opportunity, everybody that worked on my race cars, just the fans. I got a group of friends that came out to Knoxville with me that meant a lot to me. My mom and dad, they come out to Knoxville every year, but they never thought they'd be back in Knoxville in June to induct me in the Hall of Fame. My brother and his wife came, my two uncles and my aunt came, and so just a great day. But I try to do the best I can to say thank you to all the owners and crew and people that helped me along my way, but just didn't have enough photos to get it all done.
Paul, another thing on social media I thought was really neat was Braden wrote a really emotional post for you, and it talked about the pros and cons of being the son of a race car driver. But he just was beaming with pride, and I love how he ended it like he almost wished he was able to miss some of his high school events and school, family things to be at more races with you. What was it like to have your whole family? You just talked about so many represented were there for you this weekend. What is that like when you see a post from your son? And I know how close your whole family is.
Braden's post, I started to read it the day he wrote it on Friday, and we were at the little round table they have there at the Hall of Fame on Friday afternoon. And I read about the first two lines and had to put it down because my eyes started watering up so bad. So, Braden and Kylie both. Kylie, growing up, didn't really get into the racing much. She just sat up on the top of the trailer with her coloring books or whatever and just had a good time wondering when the races were going to get over so we can move on. But Braden, he took it in. He watched everything. He played, he lived and breathed racing as much as I did. And he put in as much as I did into my own career, him and Jan both, to make sure I was always taken care of. Once he got older, he wanted to work on my race cars. We got to hang out a lot more, which was very special. And, they gave my family, my wife and my two kids both gave up so much to allow me to go do that. And to see that he doesn't, regret me or, doesn't have no animosity towards me for what what he had to give up for me to go race. So, that was greatly appreciated. And just him and Kylie both gave me some tearjerker, and Jan also gave me some tearjerker stories on social media. So a lot of crying last week, I can tell you that.
I'm sure. It is great having a tight-knit family, but they'll make you cry once in a while. They really, truly will. Paul, you were inducted in this class of 2024. Also inducted Bones Borsier, Tracy Hine, John Stambro, Gary Deuce Turrell, Slick Rick, Ricky Warner, Roy Robbins, Bill Holder. Is there any parallels or connections or just neat things about that group, or is just the fact that y'all are Hall of Famers now and you're all kind of are bound together by this class?
Well, I mean, the one of the funny things was, and I didn't really realize it until I got the program, was the TSR connection that we had there. It was me, Ricky Warner, Tracy Hine, and Bones all worked at TSR at one point in our careers. So, half of inducted, guys that were inducted worked at Tony Stewart Racing, which was kind of cool. All of us together, me and Tracy were teammates at one time. Me and Ricky were teammates with Donnie Schatz. Bones was there after I was, but, just to see the group of people that came out of TSR, but everybody, to get to hang out with Deuce. I met Deuce in 1990 when he was working for Doug Wolfgang on the 8D car for Ray and Jay Williams. And just to hang out with him again and get to tell old stories and things like that was pretty cool. So the Hall of Fame is, that whole week is so special to be a part of, and just to sit around and me and Ricky Warner were sitting there during the round table they were having on Friday, just kind of laughing at some of the stories like, oh, I remember that, or, just stuff like that you don't, in the moment, you don't think about. But now, I have a little bit more time not racing anymore, that I can reflect on things and you know, more things come about and you start laughing, you know, just laughing out loud, just sitting somewhere because you think of something.
Paul, I was going to ask you about that. When you're a few years removed from full-time racing, when you reflect on this, obviously a huge accomplishment to be inducted into the Sprint Car Hall of Fame. But when you look back at your career, what are some of the big highlights to you, and what were some of the things that you wanted to celebrate? I know you mentioned, obviously, all the car owners and families and people that helped get you where you were. But as far as your accomplishments, what do you consider some of your biggest accomplishments as a race car driver?
Some of them, I'm one of 7 guys that made 20 Knoxville Nationals, one of 6 that made 20 Kings Royals.
Wow.
I won Short Track Nationals twice. My first Outlaw win was very special, winning the Dave Bradway Memorial, winning the Brad Doty Classic. Mm-hmm. My very first win at Placerville Speedway is, something that sticks with me forever. But I really don't think about it. I was just a kid that raced. I was fortunate enough. There's a lot of people out there that could probably do my job, but just never got the opportunity. So just very thankful for the opportunities. And you just take things for granted, I guess, when you're out racing. You just think that's just normal way of life, and you don't really realize how special it is to be able to drive a race car for a living. So, when you do win races, you better take advantage of them and celebrate them when you can, because it might be your last one you get.
Paul, fascinating just reading some of your bio and knowing your bio, but something really triggered with something. I forget who it was, wrote it even. But we live in this world now where every sprint car racer in California is now running national. I mean, you look at the High Limit or the World of Outlaws, it is all California kids, it seems like, at the front. You were kind of at the forefront. What was the scenario that had you California, Calistoga Speedway champion? You talk about some of the wins out there. What was it that triggered you to move nationally?
Well, it basically, it all goes back to a barbecue in 1978 at Bob Clausen's house. I got to sit and hang out with, I was just a kid, but to see, hang out with Rick Ferkel, Danny Smith, and Steve Kinzer while we're having a barbecue in 1978, that when I got done, I just said, that's what I'm going to do at 8 years old, was going to go race the World of Outlaws. Never thought it would actually happen. But somehow I got into the right spots. I got in with Clyde Lamar, which got me into Dennis Roth, which just kept, and once I got out there, I refused to go home. I refused to take no, and refused to somebody tell me that I ain't good enough. I just refused to give in. I always tell everybody there's 2 things we can do. We can try harder or we can quit, and I ain't no quitter. So you just keep on plugging away.
Yep, no doubt. And plugging away all the way to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. Paul, we appreciate your time here today. Always appreciate your friendship to us here on the program, and appreciate all of the success and what you've done as in the sprint car world. Congratulations, and thanks for joining us here on Wing Nation.
Thanks for having me on. Oops, sorry. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for not forgetting about me, since just an old retired guy, and I appreciate it. And sorry about the phones ringing here in my office.
Gotta go sell some gauges, right?
That's right.
Sounds good. Thanks, Paul. We appreciate it. Congratulations again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There we go. Paul McMahon, a member of the 2024 class of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, joining us on the Sage Fruit Hotline. Stay with us. When we come back, Daryn Pittman. He joins us next.
Tony, do you even remember how to drive one of these?
It's not something you forget. You should know that. The drive to succeed, the need to win, the desire to be a champion. And we surround ourselves with partners that believe the same. Like Tony Stewart Racing, Sage Fruit strives to be the best in all they do. They work hard on the farm, in the packing facilities, and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears all year long.
You can compare apples to apples, but nothing compares to a Sage Fruit apple. Winning quality in every bite.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation. Now, before the break, I said Daryn Pittman's going to join us. Before the break, I also said that Paul McMahon needs to get back to the phones. Well, Paul is there at Quick Car, right? The Gauge Company. Okay. Daryn is at Ultra Shield. Paul needed to get to the phones. Daryn needed to get to the phones because another customer walked in. So we did the old switcheroo. And joining us on the Sage Fruit Hotline is Daison Pursley. Hello, Daison. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Well, Daison, we dialed you up last week because you won your first wing sprint car show up at Huset's, and you had some travel issues, or travel plans, and so we said, well, we'll just wait a week, and then you go and back that up with a USAC sprint car win at Knoxville. I would dare say things are pretty good right now. Things seem like they're rolling along pretty well for you, Daison.
Yeah, absolutely. They're rolling around really, really good. Just crazy to win in a wing sprint car one weekend, and then be fortunate enough to jump in a non-wing sprint car and have success in it too. So just goes to show again the amazing opportunities that I've been given and get to continue to to take and just get to do my job, and it's pretty cool to have success doing it.
Daison, I'm just trying to figure out your schedule. So you've got full-time USAC midget, you've got USAC sprints, Dirt Silver Crown, and then you're going to throw some 410 wing sprint car races in there. How many races are on the docket total for the year?
I couldn't even tell you because there's just so many coming at me at once. So originally it was planned just to run the USAC midget stuff and then run the Dirt Silver Crown stuff and then the USAC sprint car stuff as well. And then was going to kind of run a couple of the micro races, like the 10,000 to win micro races and stuff. And then was very, very fortunate enough to have opportunities in a wing sprint car and do other things that just kind of allowed me to I guess fill my schedule a little bit more, even though there's really not much to fill. But it's just cool to get to race all these kinds of different disciplines of race cars this year.
How did the Eikenberry opportunity come about? Did you call them? Did you have an off weekend? How did that all come about? And how did that all work out?
Yeah, so Justin Giddings, his brother Snow, I've just been really, really good friends with through my dad, and just kind of always talked to Snow and was always just kind of hindering almost of just wanting to race a wing sprint car, right? That's what I want to do, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life and make a good living at doing it. So just kind of talked to him, and then he told me that his brother, had a wing sprint car, and they didn't really have a driver, and so I kind of just kept on asking them, and then it was like a Thursday, I think, is when they finally called me and said, hey, we don't have a driver for this weekend, and we really, really want to go race. I don't know what your schedule looks like, but if you want to come up here and run Knoxville on Saturday and then go run Houston Sunday, Monday, we would love to have you. So I was racing Circle City, I think, that night, which was Wednesday, Thursday, and then I was going to be off Friday and then had to get to Knoxville Saturday. So, it just kind of all happened in the span of about 3 days there, and then I just had to jump on the opportunity and take full advantage of it.
Well, you certainly took full advantage of it. Let's talk about the 410 win at Huset's. Huset's is one of my favorite racetracks, really tight, racy, little high bank track. Just talk about what that win meant to you. Obviously, we haven't even talked about it yet, but came back from a near career-ending injury years ago. But what is it like just to have the success, and especially that 410 race, but even this weekend, the success you're now having these last few weeks?
Yeah, it's extremely cool to do that and to come back from the accident like that. And this year definitely kind of feels like I'm back for sure, and couldn't have scripted it out or planned it or dreamed of it any better for the people that I'm having success with as the teams and just everyone who's given me opportunities to drive great race cars, and it makes my job a lot easier as a driver. So nonetheless, Huset's was really, really cool. I got to run Knoxville the night before that, and that was kind of an eye-opener, definitely with just how fast wing sprint cars are at half miles and just, all the dirty air and what the wing does and how much you have to slow your hands down and all that stuff. So Knoxville was definitely an eye-opener, and then when we got to Huset's, it was kind of more natural to me, just coming from the non-wing side of things, where you could kind of get up on the wheel and get the job done because it's a little bit smaller, and that was just something that kind of fit my driving style to help me, I guess, propel and not have to, stress or fix too many of the problems that I was having just to jump from a non-wing sprint car into a wing sprint car.
So I want to continue this further. So you go and you learn in a wing car, Knoxville, and then what's a non-wing car like at Knoxville? Is it somewhere in the middle, or how does that compare to everything?
Yeah, I mean, they're just two different animals, especially at, half miles and big places like that. it's kind of just hard to explain. Like, wing sprint cars you're going so fast there, wide open, and dirty air is a big thing. And then you get a non-wing sprint car and you're still going fast nonetheless, but it's just kind of slow motion at that point. So truthfully, I really do think running the wing sprint car the week before kind of slowed everything down for me, looking back at it, and kind of, I don't want to say helped me in the non-wing sprint car, but definitely didn't hurt anything that I was doing. So, I think it was, cool to get laps before Knoxville, and then just kind of getting familiar with the track. Anytime that you can get more laps on the track and is definitely a good thing. So it was definitely different, but it wasn't too different where I was out to lunch or anything.
Daison, you mentioned in your previous answer that you kind of finally feel back to where you should be after that injury. What was it like? That was a severe injury that you had. How difficult at such a young age was it to overcome that and work through all that physical therapy? I can't even imagine what you had to go through. But to get back to where you are, to where you feel so good now, back in a race car and winning races.
Yeah, it's definitely, crazy to sit back and really look that it was going on 3 years now. And I think I learned a lot, good and bad things, that these, race cars can really hurt you. And you definitely can't take advantage of the stuff that you get to do, in your everyday life. So was just, very, very fortunate enough, and just to get everything back that I've gotten back, and all the support through the racing community that I've, had and gotten, and still to this day continue to receive, is just truly amazing. The racing community is very, very special, and when people get hurt like that, everyone kind of comes together, even though that we're very fierce competitors. So it's cool to finally have a lot of success, and like I said earlier, I couldn't script it or prayed for it or dreamed of it any more than I'm having right now, for sure.
Well, it is fun to watch. I'm telling you, when you walked into the Chili Bowl, it was like, oh my gosh. I mean, just, and I don't know that I wasn't aware that it was happening. I think the surprise was as much as anything else. But the amount of support you've received, though, has been phenomenal. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine that. It's got to be it's got to be very rewarding to have all that support from folks.
Oh, it's something that's very, very hard to explain. And I've said this a lot in any interview that I've talked about it, is thank you is not enough. There's really, that's truthfully nothing enough for the amount of support that I've received. And if it wasn't for those, little Facebook messages or comments or concerns or anything that, wanted me to get up the next day and continue to push through and make everyone proud, I don't think I would be here. So just forever thankful for everyone that reached out and all the support that was given my way.
Okay, final question. This is a selfish one. Do you have any more Millbridge races on the schedule? Because you're surprised as you pulled in there last week. Are there any more micro races at Millbridge coming up?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. Chad, I race for him in the midget stuff, and then race for him at a lot of the big money micro shows too. And just kind of whenever he has an open seat, he gets a hold of me, and I try to make it happen, just because I love running micros. I think micros are very, very fun car to drive, and it's cool to go back and race with a lot of young talent that's coming up through the ranks. So, and I like racing at Millbridge too. I think it's a very phenomenal racetrack, and everything they do there is great with the talent, and it's hard to win there. Heck, I haven't even won there this year. So, hopefully I get to pop out at Millbridge a little bit more.
I'll tell you what, that was a real treat. That really was. It was fun to watch, that's for sure. Daison, congratulations on all the success across the board. I know you're getting ready to get busy because Midget Speed Week starts now, so I know you're going to get busy. But congratulations, and thanks for joining us here on Wing Nation.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
There we go. That's Daison Pursley joining us on the Sage Fruit Hotline. And yes, Midget Speed Week in Indiana starts tonight, and so we'll be dialed into Flow Racing for about the next year and a half, it seems like, with Midget Speed Week going on and everything else. What a talent, what a fine young man, and what a great message he has there.
Yep, great story.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool stuff, that's for sure. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to step away, then we're going to regroup back. And hopefully Darren has sold that seat and sold everything out. And we'll see if we can dial up and catch up with Darren Pitman in just a moment.
Tony, do you even remember how to drive one of these?
It's not something you forget. You should know that. The drive to succeed, the need to win, the desire to be a champion, and we surround ourselves with partners that believe the same. Like Tony Stewart Racing, Sage Fruit strives to be the best in all they do. They work hard on the farm, in the packing facilities, and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears all year long.
You can compare apples to apples, but nothing compares to a Sage Fruit apple. Winning quality in every bite.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. Let's go right back to the Sage Fruit Hotline. Fresh off from that trip to Victory Lane on Friday night at Williams Grove, Daryn Pittman joins us. Hello, Daryn. How are you?
Good. I haven't heard that in a while, so we're doing good.
I'll tell you, you haven't been in a car for, I think, 8 months. You hadn't been to Victory Lane for Williams Grove. It does not appear, was it one hot lap? Was it two hot lap? How long did it take to knock the rust off?
Honestly, I was surprised. I mean, I was pretty worried that, only getting one hot lap session and then having to go out on time trial, which obviously sets your whole night. But I was pretty shocked at, honestly, the first half lap. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, like this feels normal. So, I kind of, had a warm up lap or whatever. I think we ran 2 laps, timed in hot laps, and felt like my first one, I took it pretty easy and was trying to create a gap and get a little bit more space from the car in front of me. And then I ran as hard as I could, the second lap, and felt like, it was pretty good, which it was quickest in that group. So, it didn't take near as long as I honestly had anticipated it taking.
I like how you just jump right in the deep end. You're not going to a quarter mile. You just, after 8 months, just hop back in the car at Williams Grove. Daryn, what is it like to have the opportunity that you do to hop in the car like the 69K that is still currently running all, you have Davey Brown, you have Donnie Kreitz working on it. The car is going to be pretty fast, pretty well set up, obviously, for Williams Grove. How much confidence does that give you to get up to speed that quick?
I mean, that's the only reason I even did it, is knowing, what I feel like that car is capable of doing. And a lot of that stems back to how we ran, in the fall. And I ran the car for 3 nights. And really just from the first time I sat in it, just, it does a really good job of making somebody that, maybe should be a little bit uncomfortable, making them comfortable. And so I knew that, I felt like I could get up to, speed and up to pace pretty quick, just because of how we ran last year. And so it was good, but still, after enough time goes by, you just definitely question those things. So it just felt good to be able to, what you'd hope for, and I guess what the plans were for them to kind of, come through. But Donnie and Davey, they do an amazing job. I mean, that thing is, I've done this a really long time, and that car is unlike anything else I've ever driven, for sure.
Talking about that 69K car, the 90th birthday of Davey Brown. First and foremost, it's amazing that 90th birthday, but what's it like? You've raced against Davey Brown for your whole career. What's it like to race with Davey Brown?
Yeah, it's like you said, I mean, just the fact of, I don't know, he's probably the only 90-year-old person that I know.
Yeah.
And the fact that he drives himself, still sets up the car, walks and watches every lap that it makes, mentally. Obviously, I didn't know him well, 15, 20, 30 years ago, but I mean, I'd have a hard time saying that he's not as mentally sharp as he's probably ever been. It's definitely something that's pretty enviable if you're going to live that long, he's doing it right, for sure. So like I said, just the fact that he's still driving himself to and from the racetrack at 90 and still been able to walk himself to victory lane is something in itself. And obviously the guy's had a undisputed, Hall of Fame career, and amazing what all he's been able to accomplish. So it's fun to listen to him talk and him listen to me and sort of kind of verify what he thinks that I'm feeling or what he's seeing.
Daryn, how easy or difficult is it to balance the semi-retired race car driver, full-time business worker, that life? I always thought when I started racing more part-time, it was difficult. Like you talked about, you hopping in the car, how long is it going to take? But what is the desire level? Like, is there ever a time where you think, man, maybe I shouldn't do it anymore? Or is there, man, I wish I was doing it more? How do you balance that with your everyday life now?
That all depends on how you're doing.
True.
For sure. I'm 100%. performance motivated on how bad I want to do it. So if things aren't going well, I mean, this will be my third year where I was kind of racing part-time, and every year I've raced less and less. And so, if Dawn hadn't asked me to come back and drive the car again this year, I really didn't have any intentions or plans of racing at all. So, but when you can get in a car that's that good and go out and compete and feel like you can compete for not only wins, but, big wins, it does make it a lot easier to want to do it. And so obviously, I'm pretty motivated after last weekend and kind of rejuvenated that I feel like, obviously kind of backed up what I felt like or hoped how we could run. And so, but, that can change week to week. The good news is I'm not racing a lot this year. We're running very, very limited, and I'm okay with that. No matter, I guess how we do, even if we are winning, we're not planning to add any races. I just can't. And so it's just nice to be able to, the best part about driving his car is that I can, walk away and I don't really even think about it until I show up at the racetrack the next time. And so that's something that fits my schedule very well. I don't have to think about, okay, how do we make something better? What do I need to do to get better? I know that they're working on that, and I know that the car is going to be, pretty spot on, hopefully, that every time I show up.
One of the things, Daryn, that you spent a lot of time, you and your wife and your daughters, Mandy and your daughters, you spent a lot of time traveling, and they saw some wins, of course, but they saw a lot of the struggles and everything. Just 2 or 3 years down the road here, I saw a picture of them in the living room watching you in Victory Lane. What's that like as they're at this phase in their life, to let them know the old man could still get the job done and to see Dad in Victory Lane? What was that like when you heard from them, when you had a chance to get back home and celebrate with the family?
Yeah, it's funny. Katie, our youngest, she's by far the most dominant personality, I think, in the family. And so it was funny even to just show up and even the next day, to hear her one-liners that she can pull out of what we wonder where she gets them from. And she was pretty excited. So I know that both of them were, but Taylor, I think, enjoys it, but she gets her dad's personality. So it's kind of hard to tell when she's mad or happy. They all kind of look the same after a while. So she's definitely more reserved. So, but they still do enjoy it. They still like watching the races. They enjoy going, for sure. I mean, anytime, they were pretty excited about the high limits and the Outlaws having more races in Texas and trying to be able to go. And we rained out most of them, but they definitely don't miss a beat at, or an opportunity to go and watch, even if I'm not racing. But I'd still like to think I'm, they're my number one fans and cheer me on as much as anybody, as well as my wife. But it's definitely been a life change for them, probably for the most part in a positive way. But there's definitely a few things that they definitely miss.
Daryn, that was going to be my next question. I feel like the last few years we've checked in on you on how everyone's transitioning to a normal people life, quote unquote. So how is that going? I know Mandy was missing the road and the souvenir trailer for a while, and I heard your interview that we're working 12-hour days and busier than you've ever been. So how is the whole transition going a few years down the road?
Good. I mean, it's everybody's done a really good job and adapted well, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge of obviously running a business and trying to grow it and try to be successful. And I'm perfectly content with my racing successes being through other people and my products. And so that's one thing that I value, and seeing late model guys, sprint car guys, midget guys, whatever, go out and be successful. And so I think they've all done a great job. They're busy enough with soccer and their own activities and having a better friend base that they want to go and hang out with on weekends and stuff. So that's just things that they weren't able to do when we were traveling. So we're, like I said, 100%, we're busier than we've ever been, I think, as a family and with business. We thought we were busy when we were racing full time, and we learned pretty quickly we had no idea.
Yeah. The Ultra Shield business, so much emphasis, and Daryn, you were our go-to guy when it came to safety. There was so many times, whether it was here on the show or in the pit area, just chatting with you about it. How are things going on the safety front? Are there new development? Where are we at as you guys continue to evolve what you're doing here, and sit back and take a look at it from that perspective?
I mean, it's good. It's things are good with us as far as, happy with the direction that everything is going. You always have the thing with business is, I guess, different than racing is always about like right now. So like, how do we win the next race? And so, the one thing that we're trying to balance here is, okay, how do we, get the stuff out the door that needs to go out the door now that people have been wanting for a while, but then, what is the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan down the road? What can we develop that's going to take some time to, help things, longer range forecast. And so trying to balance that time between what has to be done today and what needs to be done to be successful 3 to 5 years is definitely something that, I'm working on and trying to figure out. But honestly, I just enjoy trying to go after new markets. So I'm actually leaving tomorrow to go to my first ever Dream. So I'm excited to go to the, Eldora and watch the late models there. In 20 years of going to Eldora, I don't think I've ever seen a late model run around there. So that's a market that we've been working on really hard the last couple of years and have started to, make some decent headway on. And, it doesn't stop there. I mean, we don't have anything really in the Northeast modifieds, that stuff. So no matter what, happy with the direction that we're going in sprint cars, micros, midgets, but there's always another form of racing out there that I feel like we can go and try to add some value and add some, see what they're after and what kind of products that they're looking for.
Neat stuff, that's for sure. Final question for you here. Back to the racetrack, the 2024 plan. Big Williams Grove, and did I see Knoxville? What is your plan with the 69K for the balance of this year?
Yeah, so the original plan was to run all 3 outlaw races at Williams Grove. So spring, summer, and National Open. And then we're going to Knoxville to run the Nationals. And then they were going to go in June as well to run the 2-day show, the 14th and 15th of June. So when the spring race rained out at Williams Grove, that's when I went back in for last weekend to at least get one date in and get in the car and make some laps before they drove. Obviously, they're a pretty small team, and it's a big undertaking for them to go from Pennsylvania to Iowa once, let alone twice in the year. So they definitely wanted to run a race before they, hopped up and drove all the way to Iowa here in a couple of weeks. So the next race will be next weekend at Knoxville, the 2-day show. Then definitely run the Summer Nationals, National Open, Knoxville Nationals. So when we were there, we'll run the Capitani as well. And then, depending upon how things go, we've talked about possibly trying to, get a 360 to run the 360 Nationals, but that's all sort of tentatives. And then really the only other date that is, a little bit of possibility would be that there's a Friday night of Speed Week that I think pays $20,000 to win in Pennsylvania as well. So other than that, it's really, to start the year, it was a 5-weekend, plan, 3 in Pennsylvania and 2 in Knoxville. And like I said, it really could turn into maybe one more if we do the Pennsylvania Speed Week.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. Really, truly is. Really fun to watch, that's for sure. Well, Darren, love that you're hooked up with those guys there, and love to see your smiling face in Victory Lane. We appreciate your time joining us here on Wing Nation.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
There we go. Daryn Pittman joining us here on the Sage Fruit Hotline. Stay with us. More Wing Nation in just a moment.
Tony, do you even remember how to drive one of these?
It's not something you forget. You should know that. The drive to succeed, the need to win, the desire to be a champion. And we surround ourselves with partners that believe the same. Like Tony Stewart Racing, Sage Fruit strives to be the best in all they do. They work hard on the farm, in the packing facilities, and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears all year long.
You can compare apples to apples, but nothing compares to a Sage Fruit apple. Winning quality in every bite.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. Whew, Erin, holy cow. Man, we covered some territory, didn't we?
I feel like we've only been here for a few minutes, but somehow 45 minutes have gone by.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It really has, and kind of all over the spectrum with the Hall of Famer, the Daryn Pittman, and then Jason Persley. Man, we got it all covered.
Yeah.
That is for sure. Speaking of all covered, we don't have to wait long. Tonight, High Limit Racing in Davenport, Iowa. And Erin, here we go. This weekend in Ohio.
Yep, the Ohio Speed Week begins. Friday, Attica, 6,000 to win. Saturday, Fremont, 10K to win. Sunday, Waynesfield, and Monday, Wayne County.
No, it's going to be great, that's for sure. Kubota High Limit back in action this weekend. I-70 Speedway, the Race Rudine Foundation race. $26,000 to win on Saturday night.
Yep. World of Outlaws, NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, Friday, River City Speedway. I'm guessing our friend will be there.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yes. He says yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And Saturday, how do you say Ogilvy?
Ogilvy,
Minnesota. Yeah, there we go.
Good times. Great times, that's for sure. We have got them covered, plus sprint car racing all over the country. Oh, my gosh. We're on social media, Facebook, Twitter. All of these shows are on our YouTube page. Like, subscribe, share. Do whatever you need to do to spread the Wing Nation gospel. So we appreciate that. That is for sure. Absolutely. We do appreciate as well Paul McMahon, Daryn Pittman, and Daison Pursley joining us. More important than all of that, though, thank you for joining us this time on Wing Nation.